Hey guys, today we're having a look at how to express doing favors for someone or someone does you a favor. So we can use the three words we just learned in the previous lesson for giving and receiving with other verbs to express the action as a favor. This construction is used to make requests and do things for others. So in order to use one of the three words we learned for giving and receiving in our previous lesson, and those three words were Agamas, Moraimas, and Kuremas, we must first change the verb to the te form and then attach the word for giving or receiving to the end of the verb. So on our first slide here, we can see how to express this pattern when we're talking about favors between other people. So person A and person B. So for example, A does something for B as a favor. A-san wa B-san ni, then we put the verb in its te form and we attach agemasu. So for example, Reiko bought Tom a present. Reiko-san wa Tom-kun ni presento wo katte agemashita. So here we can see that our verb kaimasu has been changed into its te form, and then we've attached the verb agemasu, or in this case agemashita, the polite past tense of the verb agemas, to the end of the sentence, because Reiko is giving Tom the favor of buying him a present. In our second example, B receives assistance from A. So this time we're going to switch Tom and Reiko around. So in this case we have B-san wa A-san ni, again verb in its te form, and we finish with moraimasu in this case because the favor has been received as opposed to given. So for example, Tom had a present bought for him by Reiko. In other words, Reiko bought Tom a present. Tom-kun wa Reiko-san ni presento wo katte moraimashita. So again, we can see here that our verb kaimasu is in its te form, and we've attached the verb moraimasu in its polite past tense. The only difference between the first example and the second example is the verb that we use at the end, and also the order of the people involved. So if we want to express a favor between the speaker and others who are equal and junior to the speaker, and the speaker includes members of the speaker's family and friends, this is how we do it. So I or we do something for person B. Watashi wa, and sometimes you don't actually need to start with watashi wa. If it's clear that we're already speaking about ourselves, we don't need to refer to ourselves again. So that's why that's there in brackets, because sometimes it's just not needed. So watashi wa B-san ni, verb in its te form, and agemasu. So this pattern is the same as the pattern that we see back on slide 1. We've just replaced A-san with watashi wa. So for example, I lent a book to Taro. Watashi wa Taro-kun ni hon wo kashite agemashita. So again, we can see here that our verb is in its te form, the verb kashimasu, which is to lend something, and we've attached agemashita. In our second example, I will help you prepare for the party. Party no junbi tetsudatte ageru yo. So in this case, it's a much more casual way of speaking. We can tell that by the fact that the verb is in its plain form, and the yo that's attached to the end of the sentence also is an indicator of the casual nature of this sentence. On our next slide, we are getting someone to do something for us. So I or we will get B to do something for me or for us. Again, watashi wa is in brackets because sometimes it's not needed if it's already known that we're referring to ourselves. So watashi wa B-san ni, verb in its te form, moraimasu. So for example, Tom will lend me the book, or I will get Tom to lend me the book. Watashi wa Tom-kun ni hon wo kashite moraimasu. In our second example, I will get my brother to do my homework. Ani ni shukurai wo shite moraimasu. So please note that te moraimasu is commonly used to express the idea that someone does something for me or us. In the future tense, te moraimasu can imply persuasion. In other words, I will get someone to do something for me. The following is also used to express the same thing. So B does something for me or for us. B-san wa, verb in its tet form, finish with kuremasu. So we are receiving a favor from B. So Tom lent me a book. Tom kun ga hon wo kashite kuremashita. Or Mum made me this dress. お母さんがこのドレスを作ってくれました. So you might notice here that our particle has changed between wa and ga. And if you remember back to the previous lesson, the difference between wa and ga is the emphasis that we want to place on something in the sentence. So if it's wa, then whatever comes after wa is more important. And vice versa, if we use ga, whatever comes before ga is the most important part of the sentence. Now, to express a favor between the speaker and others who are senior to the speaker, we do the following. So Miss A kindly does something for me or for us. So we have the senior person followed by ga, and then if we need to add it in, we can put watashi ni, our verb in its tet form, and kudasaimasu. So the teacher kindly lent me a book. Sensei ga hon wo kashite kudasaimashita. In our second example, the teacher's father kindly showed us some old photos. Sensei no otou-san ga furui shashin wo misete kudasaimashita. In this case, I or we received a favor from Miss A, or Miss A kindly does something for me or us. Watashi wa, and then the senior person followed by ni, verb in its tet form, and Itadakimasu. So the teacher kindly lent me a book, or I received the kindness of a book loan from the teacher. Sensei ni hon wo kashite itadakimashita. So itadakimasu is the keigo form of moraimasu, to receive. In our second example, Mr. Suzuki kindly told us an interesting story. Suzuki-san ni omoshiroi hanashi wo shite itadakimashita. Now please note that there is little difference in meaning between the two ways of saying the same thing on the previous two slides, but note the difference in the particles. So if I go back to this slide, we can see here that the senior person is followed by ga, whereas on the second slide, the senior person is followed by ni. So in this case, someone is giving us something or doing something for us, and in this case, we are receiving something from someone. So what's the difference between kudasaimasu and itadakimasu? Kudasaimasu is person A bestowing a favor upon person B. So they are giving a favor, as opposed to itadakimasu, where person B is accepting or receiving a favor from person A. And an easy way to remember the difference is to think of the blessing said before eating, which is itadakimasu, where you are accepting the gift of food from nature. Now please note, do not use te agemasu when you speak to a senior person, because it sounds quite rude, and te sashiagemasu should also be avoided as it sounds patronizing. So for example, if a teacher says to you, kokuban ga kittanai ne, kirei ni shinakucha, which means the blackboard is dirty, isn't it? It must be cleaned. The way to respond to that is boku or watashi ga shimasu. I'll do it. Not shite agemasu or shite sashiagemasu. Our final slide shows us how to request someone not do something. So please do me the favor of not doing something or other. So in order to express the negative, i.e. to give the favor of not doing the action, change the verb to the plain negative and attach de, then the word for giving or receiving. So for example, can you not eat it all? Tabenai de kuremasu ka? Or can you not buy expensive things? Takai mono wo kawanai de kureru? So that's about all for this one. The main thing to remember is those three verbs again, agemasu, moraimasu, and kuremasu, and their keigo forms, kudasaimasu and itadakimasu. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know.